So I was down in the quarters last night, and this cello player came up to me, and I think her name was Leanne or something. She said, "Butler, you gotta meet this cat. There's one cool cat. His name's like Arthur something. Hardy? I don't know. You ever met him?"
Heard he's an asshole.
He's an asshole. Well, how I've heard you described is pretty far from asshole.
Good.
And yeah, well, now, me, I'm not so sure, but you've been described as like affable and approachable in this encyclopedic wealth of knowledge.
Well, that's nice.
Again, I didn't write that, man. Well, after today, maybe I'll come up with some adjectives.
There you go.
But, we met as celebrity judges, which, I mean, at least one of us was a celebrity in it. And it was for the Mande Milkshakers. And
Yeah, a couple of years ago, huh?
a couple years ago, like 3 years ago, and they were doing their tryouts. And I sat next to you.
That was a trip.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't know they were going to give us microphones, and we were supposed to be funny.
Yeah, no one told me anything.
No one told me either.
I think you stole the show that day.
I think you did. The gentleman next to us was with the 610 Stompers, and they kind of roast.
Yeah.
Their members. Now, this was an all-female group,
Right.
so it would be somewhat, conscious of that. But there was one thing, I'll never forget this. He said, because, you're trying to get to know people other than their routine, right? You might ask like Star Trek or Star Wars and just kind of see what they say. And but the guy next to me was like, his question to the girl was, if you were to draw a bath for Arthur Hardy, would you make it like hot, lukewarm, or cold, or something like that? I literally, my face just on the table.
Well, we were not the highlights of that day. It was those women. And what a perfect example of how Mardi Gras has grown and improved. 10, 15 years ago, middle-aged women that might be a little bit overweight didn't have a chance in the world of participating in Mardi Gras unless they paid dues and rode on a float.
At which their options were very limited.
Yeah,
it was
very
just
much so.
Iris, and
Yeah, but now it's open to so many different. And why can't big girls have fun? I mean, it's just a great group, and the competition, people who want to be a part of this. I was blown away at it. It was a fun afternoon.
I was blown away too. Also, I was after the second year, and I watched all the interviews, and then I was curious to see who won. And, it was cool. And then one thing, so I'm involved with Krewe, as you know, and during Mardi Gras, you have there's like 120 something parades and 60 of these newer marching groups.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. And it's cool that during Mardi Gras, they're spread out so much. And they're doing this like every day. Whereas with Halloween, there's only us, right?
Sure.
So I've had all these interactions. We just had it last weekend about where we have competitions up at Spanish Plaza. And so I've gotten to know these groups, specifically Mande Milkshakers that we were talking about. It's really incredible. They do not go by looks. It's really about like civic duty.
And they want to do this. It's not like, oh, I've got to go parade tonight. Shit, it's like I can't wait to get dressed and go. Hop on the bus. They've got their own bus.
Yeah, they have a huge red bus.
It's like it is a business of sorts. But I always hesitate to use the terms business and Mardi Gras in the same sentence, but it is a business. You have to run it like one in order to be able to do the things you want to do. It takes time, organization, money, leadership.
It takes a little bit of money.
But when you just see it on the street, it's just pure joy. And I think it's one of the best innovations in Carnival since I've been covering it. Is these new groups, these new alternative preseason parades.
Mostly female.
Yeah, but got parades like Chewbacchus. I mean, it just wonderful, the quantity and quality and artistry that they bring, and they're not in competition with the traditional crews. They complement them in my mind.
Completely. And most of them don't have floats, right?
No, they don't.
And they can get pretty wild.
It's like Mardi Gras at its most organic.
Yeah.
This is how it started. Before we had floats and parades, people on the street. I had a friend who theorized that the first Mardi Gras parade was just marchers in costumes walking to a masquerade ball. coming down the street. Hey, that's like a parade of itself, you know.
Yeah, so most people don't. I think most people even here don't realize that. You would know the answer most likely, but I would say most crews or don't have parades.
It's
Or
probably,
don't have
well, I don't know if
floats
it's
and all
most,
that.
but I'd have to do a numerical analysis of that. But you know, every parading crew does a ball.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of crews that have balls that do not, and you got to be
Parade.
careful with that. Crews that have balls. Yeah, I know. The men used to hold their balls at the municipal auditorium. Well, where do they hold them now? You know, I always say stage their balls, not held their balls. But anyway.
Yeah, it's the tableau, right?
Yeah. But they were balls before there were parades, and then simultaneously, and there's another interesting part of all of this. To be an official Mardi Gras parade in Orleans Parish, and to get an official Mardi Gras parade permit, you must parade within the 12 days before Fat Tuesday. Anything else is a preseason parade and is not controlled by the Mardi Gras ordinance, which has some very strict rules. That's why the Krewe de Vieux can get away with some of the...
Because it's before the 12 days.
Because it's not an official Mardi Gras parade.
So they just need a permit to parade.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And the bad news about that is they have to pay for police protection, whereas the city underwrites the real parades. So
Yeah. Well, we're aware of that with Halloween because we don't fall under that.
Exactly.
So it gives the city opportunity, and I'm not speaking specifically of Krewe, just what I know, to say, well, your sanitation rates just went up, you know. So with police, my understanding is during Mardi Gras, the police have to work.
Yes.
Right. Whereas 12 days before, it sounds like, or Krewe or anything that's outside of that, you have to hire and overtime and all that.
Now, there's a real constitutional question there about can the city legally set up two different classifications of citizens, ones that the city funds, ones that you have to fund yourself. I don't think anyone's ever challenged it in court, but parading is not a privilege, it's a right according to the Constitution, freedom of expression, First Amendment. And I predict sometime in the future...
To assemble, right?
You're going to see a lawsuit saying, Krewe de Vieux can't pay more than Chewbacchus for a parade permit. We shall see. Could be interesting.
I mean, this would assume that New Orleans is going to actually think about anything. You know, I'm not so sure about that.
I'm going to try to be apolitical in our talk.
Yeah, your situation here is a little bit different than mine.
Yeah. There's a lot of people I can't afford to piss off, but that being said,
listen, you're fucking old, okay? So you can say pretty much whatever you want. I might actually have to go work for some people in the future, and they might have access to this.
Yeah, well, and I need information from all these people. So anyway, it's somewhat of a tightrope, I guess. But this thing that we do is just, it's so hard to describe. I work in television. It really doesn't make for great television because Mardi Gras is not the parade. It's all.
Yeah, we were talking about the camera eye earlier.
Yeah, it's everything around it. It really doesn't make for great TV. You need to be there, and it's just a very hard thing to describe. You do your best. You tell people, and you can still see a blank look on their faces if they've never been here. And once they come, I mean, you can always spot tourists at a Mardi Gras parade in the first three floors. Oh, look, by the fifth floor, they're beating the shit out of people with umbrellas.
Oh, yeah, trying to get beads out of liquids of dubious origin.
Yeah, exactly. And it has to be experienced to be understood. And even then, we don't understand it.
I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah. You might even still be trying to figure it out.
I am. It's a terrible business model when you think about what's required to be in a parade. You have to, first of all, find out how to join a group. They'll be invited.
If you can even.
And if you do get invited, okay, I've got to pay dues. And what do I get? Maybe you get a costume. You may have to pay for that.
Maybe.
You're required to spend hundreds, thousands of dollars for throws. Then we put you in a mask and a costume so nobody knows who you are, and you got to give all this shit away to strangers. What kind of business model is that?
One that's not for profit.
Yeah, no, it's
not non-profit. Just you're not trying to make money.
Yeah, and and I've told the story a million times. I was talking at a convention once, and tried to explain the whole deal. The guy put his hand up. He said, you know, looking at this, it seems to me it's almost like if you came to New York and you wanted to go see a Broadway play, and you got your hand in your pocket ready to buy your tickets, and the actors came off the stage. No, it's on us. It's free.
Yeah.
But don't leave, because we have gifts for everybody here to take home.
Yeah.
And I said, man, you got it. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
And he said, but it doesn't make any sense. I said, oh, it doesn't have to.
No.
This is who we are. This is what we do.
It's the definition of culture.
Yeah,
the word.
we enjoy having fun and spreading joy.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. In its clearest, simplest form, that's what it is, spreading joy. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. You, and here, if you wouldn't mind, just get a little closer to the mic.
Okay.
It's interesting. I've literally seen people get off the plane at the airport, and not me, but someone else are like, where's the Mardi Gras? You know? Drive this way. Can't miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
It is super interesting. Where we are now, I live in what's called the Box. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes.
And I don't think most people realize the extent. Okay, so there's the cruise, right? Not a good business model. Yeah. Choosing to live in the Box doesn't seem to make sense because you literally can't get in or out.
Right.
And then even if you do move your car, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to get back.
Of
you
course.
might be 10 blocks away with your groceries.
Parades do inconvenience a large segment of the population, but we do it anyway.
Well,
right?
you know, it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
and a lot of times people will thank you, like, oh, thanks for, when they see, like, the amount of effort that goes in, or just, you know,
Yeah.
pain. And then we have our cones. Do you recommend people move cones during Mardi Gras Jazz Fest?
I don't recommend anything that time of year. It's let everybody do the best they can and hope for the best. You know, it's meter maids. Sometimes they enforce the law. I got ticketed on a side street about 8 blocks off the parade route 2 years ago for being, I think it was like 19 and a half feet from the curb, from the crosswalk, and you got to be 20 feet.
Yeah.
I said, oh, come on. You know, that's not a safety. That's a bullshit. We got your thing. But other times, I've parked illegally, no problem.
Yeah, totally. Supposedly, there's no quotas on things like that.
Right.
Well, so, you know, my family owned a printing company for half a century, and they would bring us back these books that were like, if I remember correctly, it was like maybe 80% used and 20% not. And they're just like, no, we have to get these reprinted so that, you know, we meet our quotas of how many pieces of paper in the book. That
Come on.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. And, you know, our city we're not a very wealthy city. We're not rich. So we need to get the money from somewhere.
Yep.
Right? So, all right. So, affable, encyclopedic knowledge. We were speaking just a little while ago. I'm super interested, and this podcast has evolved into this organic. I'm very interested in energy. There seems to be this overarching theme. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about the energy that's this buzz, right, that happens. So there's that. And then also health and AI. I'm really curious, since you are a couple years older than me, like you've experienced some stuff in life. And I'm just curious maybe about technology and how it's affected Mardi Gras. I can think of a couple things like fiber, right, fiber optics. But then also what your thoughts are. I mean, they say everyone's going to lose their job. I think if there's anything left in the world after these robots get smarter than us, it might be Mardi Gras and things like that.
I hope so. You know, technology needs to be embraced. It's not going to go away. So I'm hoping AI can help, but we don't know yet. I mean, the internet could have killed my business. You know, print in general is in decline.
Sure.
And the information I provide is available from multitudes of other sources now.
I don't know about that.
Well, maybe not the depth and of content and context that I think we bring to it, but still, you can get parade maps on your phone. You can get them on the internet. And that's why our publications evolve to be more than a parade guide.
Right.
But that came out of necessity over time, but what AI? I'm more worried about AI in terms of photography than I am anything else. I saw something on Facebook the other day of a tombstone, photography, 1827, 2025, the death of photography.
Right.
That you can't believe any picture you see now.
Anything.
You really can't.
Especially with this political season we came out of. How do you... Look, Arthur, I'm not entirely sure you and I are even real. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we here?
Well, I think I saw a picture the other day of you in Dealey Plaza in 1963
Oh, is that what it was?
with the rifle. Yeah, and it looked so real, but I don't think you were there. But I know
Is that
better.
what the knock at my door was the other night?
But I know better. What about someone who doesn't? Oh,
Sure.
well, that was true. Oswald didn't do it alone. It's frightening, but
It's frightening.
It's not going to go away. So we have to figure out how to. I hate to use the word control, but some measure of reason and judgment needs to be imposed. Another word I don't like. If you don't, you almost invite governmental control. It's the same thing in Mardi Gras. If the crews behave themselves, there's no reason for 500 rules.
Sure.
But if they don't, you're inviting this jurisdictional approach that we can. Where would that end? I heard a suggestion from a city councilman that the city council ought to have a right to preview and assess the validity of parade themes. Well, that's
What?
bullshit. You can't do that.
These are private organizations.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where does that end? So I don't know. It's a little scary, but we're too early in the game to really predict this is going to be good, this is going to be bad. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
So I've been interested in it, right? And this theme kind of came about. And there's this company called NOLA AI, and they're having a seminar, and I went to it about a month and a half ago. And it was, the first part was the history of AI, and the second part is the future of AI. And I was like, well, I'll just go there and learn some stuff so I can talk to people when they come in. And their chief scientist and inventor scientists are both going to be on the podcast. So I've been spending the past month and a half with them. And AI is so confusing, it's really neat to have people that are very much on the inside.
Yeah.
Health-related AI, and to have them explain this to me. So, one of my questions is, what's going to happen? How long? Do we have to worry about bad robots?
Yeah, well.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Now, what they would tell you is that through efficiency and wanting to stay alive, it's kind of like a circle like this. So let's say on the outside you have bad stuff. Well, the AI, because efficiency is the name of the game, it's always going to stay in the middle, because the shortest point to anything to the outside is from the middle. And I just thought that was an interesting way to do it.
Yeah. Well, we shall see.
Or maybe it'll just... I don't know. Look, Arthur, I'm not concerned about China or Russia or Cuba or Venezuela. Nothing. I'm concerned about AI. I really am.
Well, I think we should be. Healthy skepticism is a good thing,
Yeah. Let's talk. You mentioned earlier about, I don't remember if this was before we started, but Katrina. You were, probably the biggest advocate for Warren Easton High School, and
yes, my alma mater. Yeah. And it took on Canal. It's on Canal Street. It's actually, Warren Easton High is the oldest public school in Louisiana.
Really?
It's founded in 1843. Uptown, moved a couple of times. It split off into 2 schools, then 4, then back into 2, then back into 1. It was called Boys High until 1913, and it moved to Canal Street, to its present site.
Okay.
Took on about 8 feet of water during Katrina. And it was a good chance.
Only 8 feet?
Yeah, and it was a good chance that it was not going to reopen. And I was on a Hall of Fame committee that started in 1991, and we got word that there was a movement afoot for the school board to not rehabilitate the building, but instead of keeping it a school, selling it and making, because they needed the money, making condominiums out of it.
Oh.
And a group of, now the school's 100% black.
Right.
It was all white when I was there by law. It was segregated. So a group of us 10 old white dudes said, you're not going to close our school, and petition the school board to make let us be the charter operators of it. And I think by a 4-3 vote, they said, go ahead, which we were surprised. And then we said, oh, shit, now
we have to do it.
You know, we're going to run a school. Anyway, long story short, we did open it, and with a lot of help, and eventually it became one of the better open admission public schools in the whole state.
That's wonderful.
More than 2,000 applicants every year for about 300 spots. They had 100% graduation for 10 years in a row.
What?
It's in the low 90s now. Real success story. And it's a great, I think it's the greatest comeback story, other than the Saints perhaps,
Wow.
of the whole Katrina epic.
That was a pretty fantastic game against Atlanta.
Yeah, oh man.
It was just off the hook.
You know, I saw it on TV. I wasn't there. I used to have season tickets, but not by that time. But yeah, but anyway, it's a great school. And one of the benefactors of the school is Sandra Bullock,
Yeah.
with whom I've become friends. And
Yeah.
she was just terrific. Came in at a time we needed a cheerleader
I remember that.
and some money.
Well.
And she supplied both.
She has some, international influence.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
people-
She was almost going to donate anonymously, but said, maybe, I think she said, maybe I can use my celebrity to.
Bring some attention.
Yeah, and I said,
Yeah.
you think? Yes, indeed. So
No, don't do that,
Yeah.
Sandra. Do not.
Yeah.
Please.
So
don't throw me in the briar patch.
we owe her a lot.
Yeah. Well, and there's actors and actresses, and you're like, and then there's some that are just like, they're awesome, and she's one of those people. You can just tell that she's a genuinely nice person.
She really is. She's very smart and very funny and very unassuming. And, the kids will ask her can I have your autograph? And she says, no, go get a teacher's autograph or a policeman.
Somebody important, right?
Yeah, no, really, and she means that. In fact, she was inducted as an honorary member of our Hall of Fame because she didn't go to Easton, but she did a lot for the school. We've had mostly principals in our honorary division of the Hall of Fame because at the time that they were in schools, schools were segregated, but they've contributed to the school. So anyway, they're honorary members. So she's an honorary member of our Hall of Fame, and it really seemed to mean a lot to her to be inducted that way, and
also to be kind of welcomed by the city of New Orleans.
yeah, exactly. And she's just like an ordinary superstar who doesn't understand that she's a superstar. We have pictures of the Hall of Fame members on plaques in the Hall of Fame at school on the second floor. And she refused to give us a photograph. She said, I don't like any of my pictures. So she had her stepdaughter, who was 5 years old, draw a picture of her.
Oh.
And that's the only non-photograph in our Hall of Fame. It's a crayon drawing. Go figure.
It's noticeable.
Yeah.
Well, and the concept behind what I'm doing here is Rockstar state of mind, right? No instrument required. So aside from Randy from Zebra, I think almost all of the people will not be actual musicians. But you hit on the concept, like Sandra Bullock is a rock star.
Yeah.
She doesn't act like one.
No.
It's not the idea of I want a reservation or this holier than thou.
I give you an example of how regular she is. And I mean, we're not close personal friends. I consider her a friend. But I've gone out a couple of times with her for lunch. And this is when she was with Jesse James. And I went to Parkway Bakery. And, she always sits with her back to the crowd and hat or something. So, she doesn't want to be recognized.
Yeah.
Although, in general, people in New Orleans know how to treat celebrities. They really do, But anyway, we're sitting at Parkway Bakery, and this middle-aged black dude comes up and sees who she is and high-fives her. And he says, hey, baby, love your shit, and walks off. And she says, what did he say? He said he loves your shit.
Right.
He said, that means I said, yeah. But notice he didn't ask for a selfie or a photo or a signature autograph, just I love your shit, and goes on and gets his sandwich.
It's like, hey, Arthur, I really love your shit. Can I? Oh, by the way, can I get a selfie?
No.
Yeah.
And she said, this is really cool.
That is cool. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I've heard it from quite a few people.
Yeah.
They choose to live here because we're just not, especially musicians. It's like, all right, we've got 15 shows to choose from tonight.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So. Yeah. Sorry, I had a little.
Yeah, but
this will be an edit point.
it's just neat that people in New Orleans seem to get it. That hey, you may be a star, but this is your time, and I'm going to say hi, I love you, but I'm not going to bother you. You know.
As much as you might want to.
Yeah.
Well, and if you just look at our homes, I mean, you take the Garden District. I mean, you know, I'm in this 1890s Victorian home, and there's beautiful places, and you know,
Sure.
New Orleans is very mixed, as you know. We got a couple good blocks, a couple bad, but even all over the Garden District, there's no walls around. Generally speaking, I mean, you know, you see John Goodman like pulling into his driveway, but people don't bother him.
Yeah.
There might be some tours or whatever, so that's certainly a...
Now the paparazzi are a different thing.
Wow.
But citizens generally will leave the celebrities alone.
And luckily, we don't have that much paparazzi here.
Yeah. Well, they'll travel if they know somebody's
right.
in town, you know. And we had
Brad
a couple
Pitt's
of
gonna be
instances when I was with her that, you know, they found us. But anyhow, she's good people, and we're forever in her debt.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of people coming here and not... well, New Orleans, we just don't hound them, right? A celebrity, whatever. I'll flash it up on the screen. There's a photo of Paul and Linda McCartney in 1975 at Mardi Gras. And there's this great clown costume. And my friend was working for Paul, Sydney Smith, who's on the podcast, earlier episode. And they were thinking that if they put on all this clown makeup, that people wouldn't recognize them. But they were recognized, but they weren't bothered.
Yeah.
You know, and they commented on that.
Yeah. I think only in New Orleans would you see that, you know.
It could just be that everyone's drunk and thinking about other stuff.
Could be.
You know, you never really know. I am curious. We hit on the very beginnings of Mardi Gras. Although I'm from here, I find that I'm still learning about it. Like, I guess when you grow up someplace, you don't quite realize how special it is.
It is special, and I'm still learning about it after all these years. You know, and that's
So there's hope for me.
that's kind of the fun part of my job. And you know, my goal from the very beginning with the Mardi Gras Guide was that I'd be happy to have my name on it, that it would contribute something to the world. And if I didn't sell a copy, still I would say, hey, this has some quality to it.
Yeah.
And to provide kind of content you couldn't find anyplace else. And context, how does what's happening now go back then to the olden days. And always wanted the reaction to be when somebody got the magazine and say, hey, man, been living here all my life, and I didn't know this. Or... hey, Irma, you remember that shit?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And that's been the goal.
Natalie.
And every year we look for new things, of course, but old things either that we will remember or that none of us ever knew. And that led us into some really deep research into some of the early crews and happenings and all. And hopefully we made some contributions, you know, it kind of debunked some myths, found some new things, and it's been a joy. You know, I tell people it beats working for a living, but it actually is a lot of work to do a magazine.
So I see two beginnings. One is when you started this with your wife in 1976. I believe you started doing it in 75.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the first issue came out in 77.
Okay.
The intensive research began in 76, yeah.
So I see two beginnings I'd like to speak about. One is the beginning with you in 1976, 77. The other one's like the very beginning of Mardi Gras.
The what? I'm sorry.
The very beginning of Mardi Gras.
Oh, okay, sure.
And maybe what New Orleans is like back then. Well, I guess maybe we'll start there. All right, so New Orleans, my understanding, as I was saying, I don't know. Maybe you know some things, but my understanding of New Orleans, maybe it's not so different than now, is it was just an absolutely lawless place.
For a time it was, I believe, and I'm not a New Orleans historian,
Right.
but you know, the first reference we have in North America to Mardi Gras at all is March 3rd, 1699. Iberville's coming up the river and lands on a spot and knows that it's Mardi Gras back in France. Now, he's French-Canadian,
Okay.
but he knows in Paris they're celebrating Mardi Gras, so he calls the spot Point du Mardi Gras, and the waterway in front of it, Bayou Mardi Gras, and that's how it got here. Now, there was no real celebration, but at least the name, it came here in 1699, and I don't care if Mobile wants to say they started.
Yeah, right.
We can get into that later, but anyhow.
Did the French Canadians end up in Mobile?
Yeah, well,
Actually, they might have.
yeah, and actually, I think he did. But the point is, this was at best a frontier town when it started.
Yeah.
There was no parades or Mardi Gras celebrations. But in the late 1700s, there probably were some private parties and plantations and things. In the early 1800s, you had tableau balls, and you had people masking, and as we said, walking down the street. There's a newspaper account in 1827 and in 37 of some kind of makeshift parade, no mention of floats. But if you went back in time to February 24th, 1857,
Okay.
when the first Comus parade rolled with 2 floats, you would say, oh, that's a Mardi Gras parade.
Right.
That's how it started. Everything we have today began there, and you would recognize it as such. So in my mind, present-day Mardi Gras started in 1857 with our first organized parade and ball, the Mystic Krewe of Comus.
Right.
They used the word crew, spelt it with a K to make it look Old English, named after a mythological god.
See, I just learned something.
Yeah,
I didn't know
secret
that's
society.
where it came from.
Yeah, that's how it started, with one parade. If they paraded in 57, 58, 59, 60. Civil War comes. They don't parade for 4 years. If they had not come back in 1866 and said, you know what, the war's over, we've got to do something, and we paraded, we wouldn't have Mardi Gras today. That was before 12th Night Revelers, before Rex, before anybody else. Comus started it all and kept it going. At a time, it would have been very easy to say, screw this, Reconstruction, we're licking our wounds here.
Yeah.
We don't need Mardi Gras. There's a parallel to that after Katrina. Why in the hell can you parade 6 months after this disaster?
We have to.
Because we have to, and we can talk about that later on too. Got some many stories, but anyway, to me, the birth of Mardi Gras parades and the whole thing as we celebrated is 1857. Now, Mobile claims they had Mardi Gras
1856
before
and a half.
us, but
Wow.
their parades, and they were Mardi Gras style parades, were held on New Year's Eve until after the Civil War.
Okay.
So I like to say maybe they had it first, but we told them where to put it.
Well,
on Mardi Gras Day.
I've heard that my whole life from people in Mobile.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we started. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
All right,
But truthfully, the first Comus Parade was founded by former members of the Mobile Cowbellions de Reagan
don't say
Society.
that too loudly.
And we used their floats, their costumes, their themes. So
Oh, wow.
there's no question there was a connection
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But technically, we had our Mardi Gras parades before they did on Mardi Gras.
Gotcha.
End of story.
You mentioned Arthur.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if the volume's dropped or...
How's that?
That's better. Thank
Okay. I was protecting your old ears.
you. And they are old.
No, I'm the one with rock and roll ears. Like I'm screaming trees, like really bad tinnitus or whatever. Arthur, you'd mentioned some Mardi Gras, and look, I just wanted to have you in here to, as I told you, like I just want to know, like, filet gumbo or seafood gumbo. I don't care if we talk
Both,
about Mardi Gras.
actually.
Yeah, wow.
Put a little filet in the seafood gumbo.
There you go. Oh, same time.
Yes, indeed.
But so there are some interesting things about Mardi Gras, and you mentioned debunking some Mardi Gras stories.
Yeah.
Can you name a couple of those?
Well, and it depends on how much you know about Mardi Gras, how much this means to you. But for years, all of the history books said that the Rex organization was founded strictly to honor the Russian Grand Duke Alexis Romanov, who was coming to town unexpectedly, was not on his tour itinerary, and that the city or some prominent people in the city noticed that city government was not going to recognize this guy. Every other city he had been to, it was a really big deal, did big parades in his honor, so that they threw together the Rex Parade entirely in his honor. Not true. And it's a complicated story, but there had been parades on Fat Tuesday for a couple of years, just disorganized people from all over town, parading in wagons and all. And a group of citizens said, we ought to organize all of that into a unified parade and make a big deal out of it, and maybe even advertise it around the country. It could become a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
It could help the city during Reconstruction. So we pretty firmly believe that this parade was scheduled anyway, but once they found out the Grand Duke was coming, they said, ha-ha, icing on the cake. Let's make this guy the focal point.
And parlay it.
Yeah, the complicated reason that I'm sure this is true, the legend is that he was in love with it wasn't really Broadway, but a Broadway musical star named Lydia Thompson, who came from England and had a burlesque type show, not like a striptease burlesque, but just comedy. And that in this little play she presented was a song called "If Ever I See."
I was going to say, you stole my thunder.
Yeah,
People think that Mardi Gras Mambo might be the Mardi Gras theme song.
If Ever I Cease to Love.
And that had to do with the Archduke, did you say?
Well, it didn't have anything with the Archduke.
Okay.
No, it didn't. But he allegedly saw her in New York in a Broadway play called Bluebeard, heard her sing the song, loved it, and wanted to rearrange his itinerary.
Okay.
This guy was after anything in skirts, okay? Later
I'm sure
on,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Later on, he was known as the Duke who was in charge of the Russian Navy, who was known for fast women and slow ships.
Oh, wow.
Anyhow.
Maybe not a good combination.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave port.
Anyhow, he supposedly fell in love with her and wanted to hook up with her. And when he found out she was coming to New Orleans, rearranged the last leg of his trip to be here when she was. All bullshit.
Oh, it's all bullshit.
No. Now,
But it sounds great.
Yeah, he was here at the same time as her. He did not see her.
Okay.
But that was the story. So how did we find this out? Now, this is before internet. We're doing this stuff in the 1980s. So microfilm, stuff like that.
Right.
We traced his itinerary from when he landed in New York in November, I think, all the way through Mardi Gras. And he did like 27 cities around the United States. Went buffalo hunting with Buffalo Bill Cody and George Custer, with whom we became friends. And we traced her itinerary, and they were never in New York at the same time. She was in Denver when he was in New York, so he couldn't possibly have seen her there. He did see her in St. Louis and got a late invitation when he was in Memphis to come to New Orleans for the Mardi Gras. His people wired back, we'll try to make it, but there's no guarantee. They could have got fogged in Memphis. He could very possibly not even have shown up.
All right.
So there's no way this parade was entirely in his honor. It was
It was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it was serendipity that it did work out that way, and Rex very wisely capitalized on it, And I think that was, and when we first published this story, I heard from a couple of prominent historians and Rex members who said, you're probably right. We just, every generation hears the same story.
Yeah.
It's written down, must be true. Who's going to look it up?
What's the old word game, right?
Yeah, but I decided to look it up.
Right.
And I was pretty proud of that accomplishment. Now it's pretty well accepted that the Grand Duke's visit was just icing on the cake. And Rex really had the whole motto, pro bono publico, for the good of the public.
Yeah.
This was a civic effort, just as it was for them to come back after Katrina, come back after the police strike, come back after COVID. So we owe Rex a lot.
Come back after the Civil War.
Well, well, of course they weren't functional until 1872.
Oh, I guess so.
But Coma's, again, a civic thing to come back after a tragedy. Mardi Gras, there'll always be a reason for Mardi Gras, and the reason is we have to.
Yeah, got to do it. Yeah. And Katrina was the prime example. And it was so public that, so many of the country were like, how can you rebuild New Orleans? And how can you have Mardi Gras and all this? Like, look, do you like your shrimp?
Yeah.
Well, it comes from here. Like, it's 60% of the goods or whatever, 30%.
It was something that we could pull it off. The government can cancel Mardi Gras. And could very well have done that in 2006. The government could not make it happen. They couldn't say, you guys will parade. these are organizations that are private. They decided to parade or not to parade. Many didn't parade because either they couldn't or they chose not to. The ones that did parade said, you know what, we're doing this for us.
Yeah.
We didn't tell people after 9/11 how to survive, how to come back.
Yeah.
Don't tell us. And I mean, there was so many people in press nationwide who said, you know, this is so insensitive, and if y'all lost your mind, how can you do this?
Oh, whatever. It's just because we're in the South.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you hear anyone say any of that? I mean, the horrible fires that we just had in California. Like, not a single person. I never heard
anyone
say, "Oh, well, how could you do this? There's gonna be a fire again."
Yeah,
and you know, it's just not even.
No. But we did it because we had to. And the Tourist Commission, which is now New Orleans and Company, I think it was then the Greater New Orleans Tourist and Convention Bureau. Anyway, they set up a media headquarters in the Sheraton Hotel. They had 1,500 licensed, registered media people in town because Mardi Gras was 6 months almost to the day after Katrina. And CNN had moved down here at studios. Anyway, every journalist imaginable was here to see, can you do it? How are you going to do it? And most importantly, why are you going to do it? And myself, I think Errol Laborde, maybe Henri Schindler, 3 or 4 people who can talk in 30-second sound bites were invited. It was almost like NFL draft day or something, you know, when there's a line of reporters and you go to each. Anyway, we were at this facility.
So you could be succinct and
to do interviews.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, everyone to a person started with, "Are you guys crazy?" And they didn't mean it in a nice way.
No.
Yeah. They really they really did not. It wasn't so cruel as they couldn't get it.
Yeah.
They couldn't get it. And we tried to explain to them that, you know, we're doing this for us. If you don't get it, that's your problem, but we have to do this. And there were a couple of reporters who stayed after to do like a postmortem, and I got re-interviewed by 1 or 2 of them, and I had preached the gospel before, and these guys said, "We get it. Now we get it," and then fed me my gospel back. You know, you had to do this. This was his. You know,
are you sure they hadn't just left like Pat O'Brien or something?
Maybe so. But in any case,
whatever it takes to get it.
Yeah, they did. They did get it, and you know, one of the scenes I'll never forget is people holding up signs for parades. Instead of "Throw me something, mister," "Thank you."
That's great.
Know, thank you for doing this for us. And it was, you know, a poignant, many moments that were memorable and a little scary. And just, I mean, for years, you'd see a parade on the same street corner, and you'd see families, and you might not even know their name, but hey, partner,
black, white, whatever. The same families are there every year,
and they're not there.
Same street corner,
and you don't know, are they dead? Are they in Dallas? You know, and it was a very emotional Mardi Gras. I can't even say it was fun, but it was important,
necessary,
and it was kind of like up yours, disaster.
Especially if you're suggesting that we can't or shouldn't do this.
No, it was great, and we kind of limped on the street, but the most important Mardi Gras in my lifetime. You know, the comeback after COVID, that was important too. Come back after the police strike, but
well, it was like 3 months. We still don't have a police force. You know, so the things. I mean, we didn't have electricity. I think for 30, 45 days, and that was only the areas that ended up having it. So you know, we needed these little. Big little steps, right? Like this happens, that happens. Oh, we have electricity. Oh, we didn't have red lights for a year.
Well, the airport wouldn't have opened if it hadn't been for Mardi Gras when it opened. I mean, there were so many things that it was a catalyst for, and it sent a message not just to the world that, hey, we're back. I think to ourselves that, yes, we can.
We can pull this off.
Get out the way, brah. You know.
We're get out the way, brah.
You know, I'm serious.
No, I mean,
it was. I mean, it was just so special. Yeah.
Well, so we have these events, right? It could have been Mardi Gras. We didn't have Jazz Fest.
No.
Voodoo Fest, actually, 9 Inch Nails played at the Fly for free for all the first responders and the few people that were here. So there's these little things that were happening that were it might not seem that big to us. It was very big. The Saints spanking the Falcons was a huge
Gleason,
part of it.
You know, yeah, what a moment. What a moment.
So we have these, we have these events. Oh, and the reason earlier I said, oh, well, about Mardi Gras and after the war and Reconstruction is because I knew that places like the Pickwick Club, for example, or places like that, I mean, the Civil War was happening, and they just up and left, and maybe, almost, a vast majority of their members were killed. So, but yet, so these organizations have been around for so long. You and I have spoken a little bit about this last Mardi Gras. That was one of the stranger ones I've ever seen. And
in what way?
Well, all right, so we've had a bunch of events, like 5 or 6 that I can count recently, that they canceled in advance because of rain, and then it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
Mardi Gras is slightly different, but I was really surprised, because there's 2 blocks away is Napoleon and 3 blocks is St. Charles, or 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised that more people didn't come out. Yeah, really surprised. So it was weird the actual day. It's like you said, we have these things that we're used to, the sounds and the smells and the corners and the people and multiple generations, and there was just none of that. I'm surprised that New Orleanians didn't say, screw the rain, I'm going to go out. And it was just a weird, just seemed strange to me.
Yeah, weather forecasting is such an inexact science. I mean, it's possible that almost none of the parades should have been canceled, but you don't know that going in. You have to err on the side of caution. And Fat Tuesday, I had the opportunity to ride, and it was a great ride, but it wasn't the same.
No.
It wasn't.
There weren't bands.
Yeah, no bands. I was in Rex. We didn't have a complete parade route. Missed Gallier Home, missed Canal Street. A lot of tradition went up in smoke, but it was better than not parading at all, which could very easily have happened, even the morning of. If rain is one thing, but
it's the wind and lightning, right?
High winds are another. I mean, it's dangerous. We know in 1970, mini tornado hit the Carrollton Parade.
I didn't know that.
Oh yes, and somebody went over what was then the Jeff Davis overpass and died. So wind is the biggest danger, and any kind of weather calamity. Rain, you can get wet, but you can't get blown off a float. Yeah.
Well, but trees are pretty unforgiving.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Branches and trees, potholes.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of that.
See, it was just strange to me. I mean, I hear about, after World War II, or just, there's all these things that have happened, yet in New Orleans, we still do our thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we're not really part of America.
I believe that.
So, I like many New Orleanians. It's like, all right, I've had it with this. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point in your life, and you hear the phrase, "Well, if you think you don't like it here, try living someplace else."
Yeah.
But so I was pretty down on New Orleans a few years ago. It's just like, come on, like there's nothing healthy to do here. I'm just getting into health. Like, I wasn't drinking. I quit drinking. And it's like, it's not being around alcohol and people drinking. It's just everything being centered around it. So, shit, I lost my train of thought. That's an edit point for sure. There was a point.
You want to get back to energy?
Yeah, let's talk about some energy. So, energy, right? I think it's been proven that we're all just bits of energy, right? And that takes its shape in many forms. One of the things that I've learned in the past year is about, and I'd never done any of this, was about Reiki and Tai Chi and Qigong. And the word Qi actually means energy. And even with these AI guys, we're talking about the building blocks of qubits and quarks and these levels that we haven't known about for too long.
Quantum physics.
Quantum physics. Yeah, exactly.
Which says you might not even be there.
That's what I was saying. I don't know if we're here right now. Yeah. It's entirely possible I'm not. I'm a little tired. I'm kidding. So this common theme of energy, even look, Arthur. I mean, music. I love music. I just do. I mean, you've got Robert Plant,
Yeah,
Stones,
see.
and all this stuff. Beatles is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm a singer, so you and I are using these words right now, but like I asked Randy one time, I was like, "Do you feel vibrations when you're singing?" He's like, "No, not in your head, because there's these vocal cords, and we understand sound waves." And we know so little about life that I wouldn't be surprised that well beyond the words that you and I are speaking with each other, that there's some sort of communication going on just with these waves and energy, right?
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the AI can tell us. But so there's two things. So we know we're strange in New Orleans. Like we kind of like it that way.
Yeah.
The city's pretty broken, but we can also do other things you can't, do elsewhere. But there is a reason why we're so strange here in New Orleans. It's been documented. It's proven.
Yeah.
I think it was in like 1984 that this was published. But like right now, we're about 4 blocks from the river. And the Mississippi River, and we all know how heavy water is. I forget what it is, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 trillion gallons of water like rushing by us.
I'm sure.
Like a lot, right there.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be vibrating. I mean, all this water rushing by, and you can't hear it, you can't see it from here, but there are these energy vibrations going on. And so much so that when you fly out of New Orleans, you don't feel it anymore. I mean, it's not something that's conscious. And then when you land, it's like, and it's called the shake. I mean, this is a proven fact. Like, that's why New Orleanians are so strange. It's because we're surrounded by trillions of gallons of water rushing by.
Centrifugal force throwing the energy.
Absolutely.
It could be. Who knows?
We used to be known as the circular city, and but then that got wiped out by all the water, so now it's just the crescent city, like a half one.
Love it. Well, it's way above my pay grade, but I can't dispute it. Speaking of energy, I know.
How do you prove a negative, right?
Yeah. Every year, I think, been doing this a long time for pleasure and for business. At some point, it's going to become old, and it's going to become just a business or I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
But I promise you, every year, when I hear the police sirens and I hear the bands, I'm there, man. It's like, all right, I can't get there as fast as I used to, but I'm going on a damn parade,
Well,
and it's true. It's just like this.
The sights, the sounds, the energy, right?
Yeah, something that moves you, yeah.
And also something that we start experiencing at a very young age.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
which is different, right? It's different between the child perspective of Mardi Gras.
It is, but there's still there's an energy there. I tell people I think it's genetically encoded in our DNA, that they've tried Mardi Gras other places, and I don't mean like Mobile or Galveston or something.
Like Seattle.
That's done successful, yeah. And it doesn't work because people don't understand the vibration of it all, how it works, the push and pull of it. But here we do. It's just like I don't know if you grow up, well, you do grow up with it, but somehow it seems more than that. It's like, this is who we are, We are different.
So this collective energy, this is one of the things I'm curious. I don't have the answers, and the shake is not proven. Okay, it's still a great story. But I mean, I remember when that Friday hits, and that there's 500,000 people that are going to be out and about, and at some point, you just feel like, oh, this is about to happen. And I'm curious. Like, do you feel like there's a collective energy that's greater than the sum of the parts?
I've never really thought about it that way, and perhaps there is. Again, how do you prove such a thing? But it does ramp up. There's a different feeling Mardi Gras weekend around parades than the first weekend. It ramps up over time. We're talking about how we're different here, and our actors and actresses are treated differently here.
Sure.
I've done the Today Show a few times, sometimes here, sometimes they fly me up to do it. And, it's a really big deal. Today Show is a national audience. And
yeah.
You got to get up real early because they're on here, 6 in the morning, something. And, excuse me, I think my first trip there, I had breakfast I can't remember if it was the NBC commissary or someplace right next door. But anyway, I had an early breakfast.
Yeah.
And the waitress brings me the food, and I tapped her and I said, "Thank you, sugar."
Uh-oh.
Sugar? Who you calling sugar, mister? And I said,
Right.
Honey, and I'm digging. I'm seriously.
You're
I'm
like, insert
digging.
foot. Okay, insert my second foot. I'm out of feet.
I said, "Baby, these are terms of endearment where I come from." And she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "New Orleans." She said, "Well, you're not in New Orleans. I'm not sugar, and don't touch me." I said, "Okay." But in the checkout counter, how you doing, bro? You don't know him. How you doing, partner?
No, anyway, it's cash register kindness, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, seriously.
Okay, baby. Like, people, that's how we speak with each other. Black, white, whatever.
We touch, we hug.
Yeah.
You know that guy now? No, he's one of us. It's my partner. Brother from another mother. But seriously, we are different.
Look, who dat? Like, we've embraced
Bad grammar.
bad grammar. Carondelet.
Yeah.
Not carondelet.
Yeah. Melpomene? No, melpomene, right? No, but we're different in a good way, and I hope we never change.
I don't think we have a choice.
No,
It's gonna, AI might take over the world, but they're not gonna take over New Orleans.
I think you're right.
So I mentioned like two beginnings, right? So one is the beginnings of Mardi Gras, and we touch on that a little bit. The other one is the beginning of you starting the Mardi Gras Guide. And so, I mean, there's things that I've learned just over the years, and then reading a little bit about you. So initially, and please correct me, I'm sure I'm wrong on this. You didn't know, because each year the cruise, most of them have different themes. You don't know who the king and you might know the queen.
Right, yeah.
You don't know who these people are. They're maskers, right?
Right.
Just like you said. And I'm just curious, like people didn't know. So the Mardi Gras Guide was a big deal.
It was.
It was a really big deal. Like, people got excited about it. Then they had an idea of like maybe parade routes, and I haven't seen some of the first ones, but so what was that like? So you put this thing out, and you and your wife, like, it's already a great thing, even if nobody watches it. And then what was that like when you started seeing like interest, and then maybe the second year?
Yeah. Well, the idea was not philanthropic or civic. It was monetary. We were both high school teachers, not making a lot of money. We said, what can we do to make some money?
Yeah.
And my first idea was to do a guidebook to barrooms of New Orleans, something I knew a lot about.
Written bar crawl, so to speak?
Had never been done before. And we did a lot of research, took pictures, which I still have, in 1975, 76. And we're going to do a bar book. How we're going to finance it? Well, we both worked for the Catholic school system, and they had a credit union, the Archdiocese of New Orleans. So I'm going to borrow money to write a book.
The Archdiocese has money?
Well, they did that.
Credit union?
Yeah.
Right.
And we said, this is not going to fly. They're not going to help us promote alcoholism. So what else is there a need for?
Responsible drinking.
Yeah, right. So when I was in college, actually starting when I was in high school in 1965, I worked at WSMB Radio, which at the time was the #1 station in town. And I answered the telephones. And every Carnival season, people would call, well, can you tell me about the parade tonight? So I'd get out the morning paper, cut out each map, and, do a little, paste it up on a sheet of paper for the radio announcers and for myself with switchboard. And the only way you could find out about tonight's parade was to buy the morning paper.
Yeah.
Now, when I was a kid, there were like 8 parades, so you knew everything. But there's 50 parades now. So I'm thinking, TV guide to lay out a week's worth of viewing, why not a Mardi Gras? Pretty simple idea.
Yeah.
And but it was not simple to pull off because crews weren't listed in the phone books, captains.
And it was secretive, like really secretive.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But I was a band director at the time in high school at Brother Martin High School. So I had some contacts with some of the crews that wanted my band to march.
Ah, okay.
And through them, I was able to get enough contacts to do a reasonably good job of our first publication in 1977. And we did 5,000 copies, and it was a critical success. Got great reviews, all black and white, no ads, no color, not a lot of information. Pretty much just a map and a capsule of each parade. But it was unique in that it had everything in one place. And so anyway, financial disaster. We did 5,000 copies.
Not so much anymore.
Well, not anymore, but then it was horrible. You know,
Right.
we wound up burning 3,500 copies of the 5,000.
Yeah.
Really stupid.
Really stupid.
I probably have 10 of them left. Anyhow, we had enough invested in it that we said, let's try it one more time. So in 1978, we did it again, sold out all 5,000
Wow.
copies. So I'm a genius.
Oh, yeah, well, you know.
So next year, 1979, we do 10,000 copies because I'm a genius.
Well, yeah.
Police strike, didn't
Oh,
sell
no.
shit. So after 3 years, we're deeply in debt.
Sure.
And but everybody loved the book, you know, but nobody bought it. So we were, I think, more stubborn than smart, and did it again and again and again. And eventually, it took off. But it was not an overnight success financially.
Right.
You know. But I'm proud of where it is. And,
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's been a good ride.
I think it's funny. It is just, I caught the tail end of this, but see, I've read you describe how you started this mindset of coming from TV Guide, essentially. This idea of,
really.
right. You do realize that if you were to explain that story to anyone under like 40, that they have no idea what TV Guide is.
was. Yeah, I know. That's how much
Right.
the world has changed. But it was at one time, it and Reader's Digest were the two most popular publications in the country, doing something like 50 million copies. I mean, really. So again, a simple concept of everything you need to know in one place.
Right.
And that was how it started. And the mission has been the same. You know, the more you know, the more fun you can have.
Sure.
So if you just want to know where the parade is, we'll tell you that.
Right.
If you want to know something about the mythological namesake, that. And an element that we added to the whole field, I guess, was that of throws. Nobody had ever published what you're going to catch. It seems simple now, and everybody copied our
It was
model.
a black doubloon from Bacchus. Or,
But that had never been done.
yeah.
Maybe after the fact, they did this parade through, but
Yeah.
never as a preview. And
almost an enticement, some
yeah.
advertisement, like, hey, bring the kids love it.
that
right?
was the biggest innovation we brought to the publication. And then what was also unique is our distribution method, where we try to get it placed at the checkout counter.
Yeah, it was like
convenience stores.
like a K&B.
K&B, Time Saver were our biggest
Yeah, you're
outlets.
right.
Ain't there no more.
Wow.
So we had some unique things going for us, but had no history in the publishing business or in the business world at all. And
You're in high school.
Yeah, and I wasn't that deeply knowledgeable about Carnival. I loved
Right.
it, went to parades, but I was certainly no expert.
Yeah.
And I was very grateful. I never got asked questions in interviews
That you couldn't handle?
that I couldn't have any idea how to answer.
That's why we just edited out that last question you asked me.
That's it, because I said,
No,
shit, I don't know. Don't ask me that.
No, me. I was the one that didn't know. All right, fine. We're making it up. But
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, one of my friends says, whenever you're doing interviews, be sure to use some of that self-defecating humor.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll do that self-defecating.
I literally just ran out of Lysol this morning, so if you can like try not to do that, that'd be great. I was wondering. So I like I said, not drinking, and I don't like being out in Mardi Gras, and it's just if I never see another piece of Chinese plastic, like, it's
You're
just
okay, huh?
too soon. But I was thinking. So when we go to the store, you've got like, let's just call it American products. You might have like a good, a better, and a best,
Yeah.
or something like that. And then you have like the cheap Chinese.
Sure.
Right? I was wondering, in China, do they also have cheap Chinese?
I don't know. I've been to China. I visited a factory that did Mardi Gras throws. Don't know.
How was China? Like, I was going to ask you, like, any travels that stick out in your mind.
Visited the plant that did a lot of throws, and very, very interesting. And I know this was not set up for our inspection because I was with one of the suppliers in New Orleans, one of the crew captains who gets his supplies from China. And we visited this plant, absolutely no child labor. Everybody had I don't want to call them uniforms, but it's the same dress wear, a nice shirt, pants, men and women. They had dormitories there. Some of them lived there, and quite a few spoke English. And I asked the head guy at the factory, I said, "Can I talk to these people?" He said, "You can, but they do a lot of handwork, you know." He said, "Don't tell them this stuff winds up in the street." He said,
the pride thing?
The pride, yeah. And I said, I won't say that. But I was impressed, and some of it was mechanized, some of it wasn't. I saw them carrying on their backs heavy loads of, I guess, raw plastic. And I said, you know, you could do a conveyor belt. Guys, I know I could do a conveyor belt. And I'd put 20 guys out of work.
And they wouldn't be as proud of their...
Yeah. He said, well, you know, we know what we're doing here, and we've got a lot of pride in it. And I was impressed. Now, that's not to say there may not be some plants where it's not so clean and nice, but this one was really cool, you know.
So maybe on that trip to China, you were looked at as kind of a rock star, and like.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe not then, but certainly in New Orleans. I mean, when you might not see this part, but when you, or let's say like a Frank Davis, right? Very serious local celebrity.
Yeah.
I mean, when you walk into a room, I guarantee people are like, "Hey, that's Arthur Hardy over there."
I get some of that, especially in season. But after Mardi Gras, you know, who cares?
Or if you're not wearing a Mardi Gras tie.
Yeah, who cares what it is?
Yeah.
But I've had some funny moments, and I think I may have shared them with you, some of them with you before, that put me in my place pretty good. I work for Fox 8, and we do the Endymion extravaganza live from the Dome. And we have to get there, Jesus, about 3 hours before time to kick off. And so I'm in my tuxedo and all, and we're up in the loge level, I guess. They don't even have the lights on yet this early. Just getting set up. Got my feet up on the table. I'm reading the newspaper. Guy comes and taps me on the shoulder. He says, "What you doing, bub?" I said, "I'm reading my newspaper." He says, "Get your ass up and start filling these ice buckets. We're not paying you." "Oh, shit, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to cost me my job." I said, "No, man. It's the funniest thing I've heard." So you think you're hot stuff. You know, I'm the guy who does the popcorn and puts the ice on.
Oh, God. So,
you know, so
how is it
you
when
can't
you're...
take this stuff seriously, is what I'm saying. You know, I have not found a cure for leukemia or anything. I just tell people where parades are. So,
well, you should make sure you tune in for Chris Galliano and Corey Kowal. What they're doing is just it's just mind blowing, and I can't believe it's just happening here in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like.
Well, they're going to be
insulin.
rock stars even if people don't know their names yet. I mean, again, the contributions that, you know, it's all relative. So my point is, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I don't take any of this stuff seriously. In terms of like, oh, I'm hot, you know, come on. It's Mardi Gras, baby, right?
It's Mardi Gras. It's not supposed to be stressful. It's supposed to be fun.
No.
It's supposed to be, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, what would you say is like one of the crazier things you've seen like during Carnival?
Well, not necessarily during Carnival, but I remember doing a speech once. I'm not even sure if it was in town or not, and it got pretty well into it. And some woman raised her hand and said, "You and your minions are going to go to hell for worshiping false gods, like Bacchus." And
yeah,
I hope not. I don't know how many people watching this know enough about the history of Mardi Gras to appreciate this story. But in 1991, there was a new ordinance at Cruise. They had to open up their membership to everybody. Anyway,
I remember
some of the parades canceled.
Like Comas.
And and I got a call from the New York Times, and it was my first big interview, and talking to the reporter about it. My secretary comes in and says, "You got to take this other call." And I knew it had to be important. So I asked the guy, I said, "Man, can you hang on for 1 second? I got an emergency phone call." Take the other call, and it was a crew captain who decided not to parade, and I had to get it on the news. I was working for Channel 4 at the time, I think. So I go back to the guy and said, "Man, I'm sorry, I had to take the call." He said, "Family emergency?" I said, "Oh, no, I was talking to this lady from Venus." And there's his pause, and he's,
Mars?
You talking people out of space? I said, no, it's crew captain from the crew of Venus. The ladies go, oh, shit, I knew it.
Right.
And I'm assuming everybody knows
Well,
it.
yeah.
But again, we're different here. We talk to people from outer space, right?
Yeah, we do. I mean, if you're not willing to embrace a little bit of alien,
Yeah.
you're probably in the wrong place. So when you walk around New Orleans, when people are not trying to get you to bucket ice, it is kind of like, well, I mean, you've been doing this for a while, right? And even if it's local celebrity, how do you feel when you get? Do you ever catch yourself when you're elsewhere? I know you're going to say no, but like just something that might be normal to you in New Orleans, and you're a different part of the world, and it's like, oh, I'm just Arthur.
No, it's never gone. It's never gone that far.
Yeah.
But I have been recognized out of town, but by somebody. I was in the Heathrow Airport on the way to visit our daughter who lives in Norway, and it was somebody from New Orleans. Hey, pal, hey man, So I don't have international celebrity by any means.
Yeah,
but
whatever.
But it's kind of fun to run into other people. But
What does that mean, world famous or international? All it means is somebody outside of New Orleans.
Yeah. But talking about internationally famous, I've always been a guy interested in complete sets of things. I was a kid, Roy Rogers comic books. Didn't even read them, but I had to own them all. And it's kind of the idea of the Mardi Gras, a complete set of information, whatever you need to know. And I'm trying to figure where I was going with this about the complete set.
Yeah, but I'm 52.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have an excuse.
Yeah, well, I'm pushing 80. Wait, let me think back. Okay, the complete set syndrome.
Yeah, you like things in a complete set.
Yeah, but
and you're talking about the Mardi Gras guide kind of being that.
Yeah, but there's another point. I'll come back to it and I'll remember it because I was going somewhere important.
It's all right. Must have been important.
Yeah.
Do you know? Is there anyone that has every single Mardi Gras guide?
Now I know where it was. Oh yeah, there's quite a few people. So my idea was, once we had the Mardi Gras guide ordered from every library in from at least one library in every state. Okay, we're in all 50 states. I said, it would be neat to be able to say there's a Mardi Gras guide in every country in the world. So we researched how many countries there were, and that is an exercise in futility.
There's some pretty small ones
UN
out there.
says one thing.
Sure.
The Olympic Committee says anyway. So we got like addresses. I'm sure we didn't get them all, but probably more than 100 embassies, and sent a Mardi Gras guide to each one of them.
Okay.
With the hope that we could somehow make that claim. Didn't hear back from but maybe 3 of them, so I did probably all went in the garbage can. But I said that would be so good on our promotional pieces that now worldwide.
No, you could say
like, who cares?
Every country in the world has our Mardi Gras guide. Doesn't mean they open the letter or the package.
Yeah, and who's going to dispute it?
Yeah.
But then I had an idea. I had a friend of mine who worked in space shuttle, and he said, I could get a magazine on a space shuttle, and then you could say it was in space. Son of a bitch died on me.
Oh no!
Before. Yeah, what kind of friend is that? Huh? So not only
a dead one.
I'm not
sorry.
I'm not international. I'm not intergalactic.
You're international.
Either.
You're intergalactic. There's no doubt about that. So, I know you said you don't know much about this. I am. Okay, back to the Mardi Gras guide.
Yeah.
It is interesting. It's more than interesting. There's a reason why you're here, not literally here, but you filled a gap. You and your wife helped fill a gap that was there, and then it became culture. I mean, that's what it is. You just recently sold it, I believe, and
yes, to the George's Media, TimesPickingUNOLA.com, right?
And there's a reason why he bought it. I mean, besides you're a nice guy and all, but he did give you, I guess, some money. But
yes, he did.
It's because he knows it's an institution, I guess you would call it.
I hope that it is, and it's going to continue.
Yeah, for sure.
Disney World didn't close when Walt died, and this will go on, and I think there's a need for it.
Yeah.
But sadly, print ain't what it used to be.
Yeah, but people still, I mean, I don't know the numbers, and it doesn't matter. But I see people going to it used to be K&B,
Yeah.
CVS, and they're still buying the hard copy,
No,
even though they
are.
can get that online. Or
Yeah,
they can get,
and that means a lot to me. You know, a lot of publications have either gone out of business, downsized, gone to a free model, or gone to internet only, and we're still there. So we must be doing something right. Now, we don't print as many copies as we did 25 years ago, but actually we're doing about 88,000 copies now, which is really something.
88,000 copies a year?
Yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
But back in
I had no
2000,
idea.
yeah, in 2001, we did 135,000 copies. So print has gone down, but the fact that we're still standing
Yeah.
means something to me. Yeah, it means
Well,
a
and
lot to me.
there's other avenues to find out about
Yeah,
Arthur Hardy's Mardi Gras Guide,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you know,
yeah, that's true.
we mentioned, or I mentioned about my family's business being in printing. Same thing happened.
Yeah,
As soon as
you
the
know it.
inkjet printer came out,
Yep.
it was like,
Yeah.
okay, printing's going to be dead. But then people needed printer ink and copy paper.
Yeah, yeah.
And then now there's been a resurgence of people that they want the engraved. I mean, the things that you just can't
Exactly, yeah.
possibly get. you
Yeah,
know, with
there's
an
a
inkjet.
renaissance, but it's never going to be what it was. You know, it's just people, the convenience of the phone. But
Sure.
to me, Mardi Gras is this. It's not that. You know?
Yeah, it's grand.
Yeah, it
Right.
really is, and needs to be viewed in a grand medium, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. God damn it.
I'm very curious. How are you going to decide? And this is a serious question, Arthur. How are you going to decide who those other 10 copies of the first year go to?
Oh, to my children, my 2 adult children.
You have 10 children?
Yeah.
I know you
No,
do.
but they'll each keep one and probably sell the rest of them.
Yeah, right. So the very beginnings of Mardi Gras. I don't even really consider that Mardi Gras. I guess it is, but we have this idea now of big floats, and you know, one of my guests is Brian Kern. I got to be good friends with his dad,
Sure.
and he's really the one that, as far as the history of Mardi Gras goes, it was in the last like quarter or third that, I guess in the 70s, he started building these super floats, and now they're $1 million floats.
Yeah.
Like really amazing stuff.
Yeah, Blaine probably the most significant, or one of the handful of most significant people in the whole history of Mardi Gras, going back to 1857. And he gets rightfully a lot of credit for the super cruise and the super floats. But perhaps his biggest contribution was the concept of rental floats. Now, there had been parades that shared floats with another crew. But he came up with an idea: let's build 200 kind of generic floats that people who can't afford to build their own parade could
Sure.
rent them. So this really democratized Mardi Gras, made it available.
Mardi Gras for the common individual.
No, really. And,
Yeah.
And he's never gotten enough credit for that.
Well, he's like that. He's very, I mean, he was super cool to me, so that's how I look at him. But most people would tell you, like, they put a smile on their face when they hear about Blaine.
Yeah, no doubt. And he trademarked the name Mr. Mardi Gras.
Well, I was going to ask you, have y'all ever like gone ahead like battling?
I always acknowledge that. He did call
Obviously,
me a
I'm
couple,
kind of joking.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I cover Mardi Gras. He did Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
And a couple of times he called me. He said, man, they calling. I said, man, I whenever anybody would call me Mr. Mardi Gras, I'd correct them. But you can't control what people do that you don't know. If it's a story in Seattle Times, you know. And he understood that. And when he died, a couple of people said, well, now you're, I said, no, that name died with him. Call me whatever you want. But he was the man.
I do have a doctor that I call Dr. John now because it's a passing.
Well,
I call him the real Dr. John.
okay.
But no, of course not. I mean, there's Dr. John right there.
There he is.
Yeah. So the very beginning of Mardi Gras, I went to the Storyville Museum, which is
Which I've not seen, but I heard is wonderful.
so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And if there's anyone listening or watching this, tourist or local, I highly recommend it. It is so cool. And you know, kind of Arthur, I was saying earlier about when you live somewhere, you don't necessarily like I mean, I had in Louisiana history, it's the Spaniards and the French, and the Spaniards and the French. So, what? All right, I want to go back to the two. I've got it written. Two well-known
gentlemen.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Do you know? So it's two, and then well, and then dash. known. You know what the dash is for?
I don't know. And I
It's
must,
there for a reason.
yeah, I must confess, and maybe we'll do a story in this year's Mardi Gras conference. You brought it up. I don't know a lot about that. You know, Storyville was legalized prostitution, and
And a lot of other things.
Yeah. And supposedly a lot of jazz was born there. We don't know really for sure, but there certainly was a carnival connection to it. And I'm going to have to do more research. I normally don't get stumped, but I can't give you good answers.
Job well done.
Yes,
That was not my job, my goal. I figured you'd know all about it. I can hear all kinds of...
No, but let me tell you a connection I can tell you.
All right. Well, now, are you holding back because of the nefarious nature of
No,
what
not
went
at all.
on?
No, I'll air dirty linen all
All
the
right,
time, but
okay.
no, I just don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
But going back to our friend Sandra Bullock, she has a restaurant in Austin, whose name I will remember in a second, and she collects Storyville memorabilia, and it was all. And I had a publication called Esquire used to once a year do a jazz edition in a hardback. It's a monthly publication, but would do a hardback edition on jazz in the United States. And one year, it might have been 1948, they had a fold-out map of Storyville. So I was able to get that for her. And she
Like
said,
where you open it up and then it pops
folds
up?
out, yeah.
Yeah.
And she said she was going to hang it in a restaurant in Austin. Bess, I think that's the name of it. Pretty sure. Anyhow, so when she was in town for one of her Warren Easton performances, or whatever you want to call it, appearances, she said, do you know where Storyville was? Can we ride around? I said, yes, I do. In fact, I've got a contact who has a great collection of Belloc photographs. Belloc was a photographer.
Yeah, I saw them.
Yeah, that photographed Storyville. The movie Pretty Baby was made about
Yeah.
him. Anyhow, Michael Valentino, who's a hotelier in New Orleans, who owns several hotels, Basin Street Station, and the step-off walking tours, has a building that Belloc used to take photographs in. It was his studios. And Michael's a friend, and he has a lot of Belloc photos. So I arranged for us to go see the photos. And Michael met Sandra, and we have a big table here in the room that he actually took pictures. And she says, oh, I've got that picture. He's opening up this scrapbook. And he says, I bet you don't have this one. And there's a picture, and this lady of the evening is fully clothed and is in front of a mirror on a mantelpiece, and has her like her elbow and her arm on the mantel. And in the background is a pennant that says Warren Easton High School. I could not believe it. Like
That's
right
great.
after the school opened. Now, so how did that Warren Easton pennant get? And she said, what a collection, a connection, Warren Easton, Belloc, Storyville.
You're like, Sandra, I told you Warren Easton was the shit. And you taught music there. Did you?
No,
why did you give up music?
I was in the band there, but I was a band director at Brother Martin for 16 years.
All right, what'd you play?
Yeah, many things, but trombone
Okay,
primarily.
gotcha.
And, but anyhow, that's my best Storyville story.
Well, so I was saying, tourists, locals, I've been twice.
I've got to see it.
My friend Laura did all the artwork. She does the logos for and the artwork for all kinds of places here, World War II and Sanger and Krewe. So she did it, and she did a fantastic job. And that definitely was a place that I learned. I was there with a friend from Philly, and he was just telling me all the stuff that he knew about Louisiana that I'm reading it for the first, like not the first time. He's like, Butler, the history down here is so incredible.
And, it's funny. It's the same way with jazz. If you want to know a lot about New Orleans jazz, go to Japan. The scholars they have there who can tell you more than we'll ever know.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. You have to go away to appreciate what you have. Yeah.
So there's some of those Belloc photos
Yeah,
there.
they're good.
Oh, yeah, they have all kinds of stuff. I don't want to give too much away, but there's all kinds of stuff there that's original,
Yeah.
right? And, okay, one thing I learned.
Can you get me a free ticket? No,
I'll get you on the guest list.
My daughter calls me King Cheap, so.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I have not had to pay for most of the concerts I've been to in my life, which
Good
is
for you.
well, that can only happen in New Orleans.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
like if you go out every night or 5 nights a week for a couple years, you're gonna know all the New Orleans musicians,
absolutely.
and they're just like, hey, what's up? But one thing I learned in the Storyville Museum is that, well, do you know why, like the red lights are red in red light districts?
I do not.
It's because it hides STDs. Better.
yeah.
No, this is not a joke. Like, this is not me making up the shade.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe not all of them, but no, that's what it said in the museum.
I'll be doing.
And
Learn something every day.
there's one. And my understanding is I'm sure you would know this guy. Might have even been one of the two people that you were speaking of, but he just had this massive collection of Storyville stuff. I mean, it's fascinating. And, prostitution, jazz, arguably.
Yeah, Al Rose, maybe?
I don't know his name, but
He wrote the book on Storyville, yeah.
he contacted my friend Laura and was just like, here's all this stuff.
Yeah, oh, wow.
Yeah.
You just wonder how much memorabilia, Storyville, jazz, Mardi Gras out there that, I mean, I get calls occasionally. Mostly people want to sell doubloons.
I found this in my attic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, and I've gotten two kind of calls. I've got the first Rex doubloon, I'll sell it to you for $300. Or, I don't know if you're going to want this because it's real old. Yeah. Oh, yes, ma'am. The older the oh, really? I thought because it was old. No, I'll take it. Yeah. Where do you live? I'm on my way.
I got 3 bitty.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've amassed a pretty good collection of Mardi Gras memorabilia, and some I've sold, some I've donated, and some I've kept. But the artwork is just phenomenal, especially in the 1900s when a lot of the ball invitations were done in France, and some of the jewelry done in Germany, and it was considered ephemeral. It's for today. Who saves this stuff? And
I wish I'd had something here because my family printed a lot of those. We had the die cuts, right? So these invitations are so elaborate, and most people never see them.
I know.
And it's just like you open it up, like you're talking about, like these books.
Pieces of art,
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, like to have this, you have a piece of metal that has to be pushed through it, and so
and
lead.
We just sometimes we don't appreciate the importance of now. We did the first, our company's done about, 10 crew history books, coffee table books. The first one we did was for Endymion in 1991 for the 25th anniversary. And Ed Munez, the captain and founder, visited with him trying to get memorabilia to assemble a book. And I asked him for things from the first 2 or 3 years. And I said, Ed, why didn't you save this stuff? He said, man, I don't have it. I said, why? He said, Arthur, we didn't know what we were doing was important. We just did it for fun. And here's the script from the ball's over, it's in a can. And so there's no record of it, films just thrown away. We didn't know it was important.
I think that goes to what we were speaking about earlier, like, yeah, New Orleans is just a place I grew up in. Yeah. It's not special.
Yeah.
Until a few years go by and you go, and then you travel outside of New Orleans and people look at you fucking crazy.
In the pictures I wish I had taken, 20, 30, 40, I mean, better take some now because this is going to be old one day. 25, wow, man.
I mean, how much was lost in Katrina alone? And I just can't believe how many buildings in the quarter. I mean, I don't think there's one building left from actual Storyville. I've heard
I don't. No, I think I saw a picture of one. I don't remember what it was. And there used to be
the Little Jim Saloon. That building, I thought was one.
No, that's on the other side of Canal Street. But I'm sure that's near Poitras.
So it is.
But
so it was only on the other side of Canal.
Yeah.
Okay.
There used to be a train station there between Krause and what's now the Sanger, Southern Pacific train station. We've got some good pictures of wrecks in front of there, But we've lost a lot through neglect or through tragedies,
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of each.
Yeah. We've had our fair share, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're due like a period of peace, maybe.
I hope so.
And look, I told you, I don't like that word. I shared with you that, come on. I mean, even though almost everyone in New Orleans that's, not a child, they know your name or they know the guide. And I think I told you, like, I don't care if we talk about Mardi Gras at all. And I thought about, okay, you're an encyclopedic knowledge of Mardi Gras, so it's like maybe we should cover some of it. But is there anything else like that you might want people to know about you? I mean, have you traveled to any places that just kind of blew your mind or reminded you of some of the things that could be done here? Is there anything like that that stands out?
I have a very adventuresome daughter who moved to Cairo, I don't know how many years ago, because she wanted to work for the United Nations and wanted to learn how to translate Arabic.
Okay.
So I went to the American University there, and we visited her in Cairo.
Okay.
I hated every minute of Egypt.
Why?
Now, it was dirty.
Yeah.
It was, Now, she loved it and lived there, and I'm told people have had other experiences, but I didn't care for it at all.
Yeah.
Things got testy there, so politically, particularly for women. So she moved to Beirut.
They got testy there?
Yeah, not a good move. She calls one day, Dad, they blew up the house next door, but don't worry, I'm okay. Anyway, eventually.
This would be one of those times where you're not supposed to be completely honest with me. Like, tell me after the fact.
Yeah, exactly.
They made it out safe. Here's what happened.
Yeah, she met a Norwegian. They're now married and have twins, and she works at the Nobel Institute in Oslo, which we absolutely love and visit as often as we can. Been to France, been to China, and they're all wonderful.
Sure.
But I'm the kind of guy who, after about 10 days, I got to be home. It's something and it's not just the draw of New Orleans. I just don't travel real well. I don't sit well. I got to keep moving.
Well, and you like things to be in complete sets.
Yeah, I
maybe
do.
there's an order thing.
And I like control.
Oh, that's what it is.
Not, I don't think in a negative way.
Yeah.
But I don't mean like I'm controlling
the
it.
control of your world.
But I know Thursday I'm supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, and I don't like getting a call at 8:30 saying, "Can you come in?" Although in the world of TV, that's how it works. You get an assignment an hour before it happens, or you're on the way to the assignment, and they call and say, "Blow that off. There's a fire over there." So Mardi Gras is not going to be important today. I
remember that. Like, we don't really know if this is going to air because we don't know what else is going to happen today.
Exactly.
And,
But I enjoy TV, and I'm my own, I don't know, worst critic, but probably biggest critic, in that whatever we do, we take a look at and say, that sucked, or that was good, or yeah, but you could have done this.
Sure.
But I enjoy TV, and normally, and what we call packages, things that we do, I feel like I'm pretty good. I only do this once a year, but in general, I think I'm pretty good. The live stuff is always challenging, especially when you only do it once a year.
Yeah.
And as you know, on live shots, you got somebody talking into your ear that you can't answer, that are giving you cues, and okay, you're about to wrap up a segment, and you've said goodbye, and they say stretch. They're not ready for the weather, and and you're sitting at home saying, "Is this guy a complete idiot?"
Right.
He just said goodbye.
No, I swear, I just found out about this 4 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did, and I've told this story at speeches before, but when I worked at Channel 6 at one time, all the stations have interns that write some of the intros and things.
Sure.
And I think I'm at the Hermes Parade. Norman Robinson's on the desk, and I'm out at Britannia and Napoleon, and Norman says, "We're about to go live and direct to Arthur Hardy at Napoleon and Britannia with the 53rd annual Hermes Parade. Theme is Gods and Goddesses, 28 floats, 16 bands throwing frisbees to balloons and cups. Arthur, what can you tell us about tonight's parade?" You want to say, "Not because you don't say bad words."
Sure.
Not a thing. I mean, you don't say that, but everything I'm going to say, well, what happened? The intern who wrote the intro got the Mardi Gras guide and writes it for Norman. So I got 3 minutes to kill, and everything I'm going to say, he said. And you just keep talking and
fill the
hope
space.
People don't at home say, then they count.
But you're your own worst critic.
No, you count. They're counting down your ear. All right, wrap. 5, 4, stretch. We're not ready for the weather. And you've just said, and that's it from pretending.
Right.
Oh, but let me tell you about the balloons I just told you about.
Arthur's drinking again.
You can see Norman back at the desk. Oh, poor bastard. And you just hope people understand. I'm an amateur at this.
I think we're all amateurs in some ways. I mean, there's always, it's like artists saying, I get nervous every time I go on stage.
Well, it's funny. I don't get nervous. and I've done some high profile things, and I never feel like I'm nervous.
Like anxious,
But
nervous,
but
can't sleep.
I'm concerned that the product is good.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want it to be rehearsed. You want to, and that sometimes it's not good. You know, and sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's. I mean, I've been goosed.
You
on
mean
live
like this
television.
interview? Just horrible.
So I've been goosed. I've had stuff thrown to.
What do you mean goosed? What is that?
Yeah, just standing there doing a report. Somebody comes up.
Throws a goose at you?
Yeah, boom, I was up. And
Well, it's better than geese. You know,
that
I
was
guess.
fun.
Go ahead.
It's New Orleans, baby. It's all
Yeah,
I
you're
can say.
right.
Yeah. Oh, one I got to tell.
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And again, if any of you have heard me at speeches, you've heard this before. But again, from the Only in New Orleans file, I did something at the Royal Sinestra Hotel, and I try not to eat right before I speak, and I always go to the bathroom before I speak, always.
Okay.
And I'm in the bathroom at Royal Sinestra, sports section in hand, taking care of business, and I whistle, and I'm doing 2 stalls down.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh,
We
nice.
had this beautiful duet with 2 guys whistling on the toilet. I wanted to wait and shake the guy's hand. It's better not.
Yeah.
But it was I mean, I tell you, it was just the best duet of way down.
That's really funny.
Does that happen anyplace else? Maybe in St. Louis, Bluey. I don't know.
How old do you think Galatoire's is? It's pretty old.
I think around 1910, but I'm not really sure. I mean, Antoine's is the oldest, but
Yeah.
Galatoire's is my favorite New Orleans restaurant. Not just because John Georges
yes.
owns it and he happens to be my boss.
Well, hey, if the ink is dry, then you can say whatever you want.
It's dry and the check cleared.
The reason I ask is so New Orleans is known as a music and food city. We
Yeah,
have
sure.
been for a long time. I mean, there has been a major a foodie wave and all that. A lot of it started with Emerald on TV, I think.
Yeah.
So there's these 5 or 6 Tujacs, Antoines, maybe Arnaud's, places. Commanders, of course.
Yeah.
Right around the corner, and so they're old school. I mean, it's when there was. We had the best food in the country, and some of the places in the world, and we're known for that.
Yeah.
So you take this really old school, like fancy white linen, French bistro, Galatoire's, and so I'm a big fan of the local band Zebra. I'm wearing their shirt, right, and Randy's a close friend.
Yeah.
So I noticed these things, and there's literally there's a famous Zebra song people know. It's like, "Tell me what you want," and you maybe I shouldn't be singing too much on here, telling people I'm a musician, but it's like literally at Galatoire's there's like 3 tables singing "Tell Me What You Want" by Zebra, a rock band, and it's just it was nice for sure.
It's my favorite Galatoire story. After Katrina, when they just
I can't
reopened-
tell mine.
Yeah, well, I'll tell mine.
No, he still works there, so I can't.
Yeah. I went there with some Rex people on business. I try not to go when I have to pay, and they were paying. So
Well,
anyway,
why would you?
Yeah. And they just opened. Waiter shows up, tattoos. How we doing, dudes?
What?
And the guys are looking at each other.
You're not-
like dudes.
Yeah.
And they just roll with this. We're doing fine, pal. How you doing, partner?
Oh my God.
And we had a great meal. But they were open, and they were happy to be there, and it was wonderful. How you doing, dudes? You don't expect that at Galatoire.
No, but you don't expect tables to be singing "Tell Me What You Want"
No,
either,
no,
right?
that's
And that's
true.
why it was memorable.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize. I mean, we have culture. We have. I don't like anyone that uses the word class. Like it's probably tells you something.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize. So my parents were very good friends with David Gooch, who's been there forever.
Yep.
And this is before they had multiple there was only downstairs.
Yeah.
Right. And
Now there's upstairs and next door.
now, yeah. I don't know if it's still this way, but downstairs you have to have reservations. But even my parents, when they're with the Gooches, couldn't get reservations. Like no one gets a
Yeah,
reservation.
that back then, yeah.
and
You
so-
stood in line outside or paid somebody to stand in your
Well,
place.
that's what happened too. Is a friend of mine, yeah, he's like, Butler, can you wait in line all night long and have the Friday before Mardi Gras, right?
Oh.
And I was like, can't you just get like one of your cooks to do it or somebody like, any one of your employees? But we did it one year, and then it was nice because he would get drunk and say, hey, do you want my spot, or hungover?
Yeah.
Do you want my spot in Endymion or whatever? Yeah.
But
we do.
That again, the tradition, the culture, it's like carnival balls. There've been stories of celebrities have showed up without a full-length dress or something.
Oh, to the floor, not just right.
You're not coming in.
Lieutenants
I am? Yeah, it don't matter.
Okay. You're a guy with a woman that is not dressed properly.
Yeah. I got.
It says whitetails.
Yeah, I got shut out. Well, not get shut out, but this is another one of those stories. You think your heart stop. Zulu Ball, which is Friday night before the parade at the convention center, and it can't be that long ago because we didn't have a selfies then, didn't have cell phone. Anyway, I'm doing the Channel 6 live shot, and I'm running a little bit late, and I go up, go, hey man, Authority, how you doing, partner? Fine, shake hands, can I have an autograph? Yeah. And he said, where's your ticket? I said, shit, man, I forgot it. I'm doing it 10 o'clock. Can't let you in, bro.
So he just asked for your autograph, and then he's like carding you.
I'm not doing. I'm working. I'm trying. Man, I know, but I lose my job. I can't get you in without you got to have a ticket. Luckily, a Zulu friend passes had an extra ticket, but I wasn't getting in. And he said, man, I'm sorry, I'm doing my job. I said, I'm not pissed at you. I get it. I love the tradition that. This is what we do. These are the rules, and I don't give a shit who you are.
Yeah.
And he wasn't ugly at all, but I got it.
Well, maybe you should have been like a bird, a plane, and then like run around him. We used to. I don't know if you know my ex Susie, but she's gorgeous, right? And we really like access to bands. Once you get used to being backstage and all that, it's just to stay out of everyone's way, be cool, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So, and then having like a really beautiful woman with you tend to be able to like doors open for you. And so I would just like palm people $20. I'm with the hot woman, and I had a sheriff's badge, and people. I'm sure, like we just kind of like walked in.
Yeah, they assume you belong.
Well, no. They're getting bribed $20 with a handshake. They're seeing the badge. They're seeing the hot woman, and we're just walking through, and they're like, "Did I just get bribed by a cop? I'm not a cop, or did he just pay me off, or like just what I was saying about Galatois, it's like same thing. If you didn't have a coat, you're not getting in.
That's right.
But at the front, you can wear one of these.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people just come down here and they're like, what in the world?
One of the best examples I've ever seen, and I've talked about it when I do speeches, of people getting it was 1951 when the Duke and Duchess of Windsor here in New Orleans and attended the Rex and Comus balls. And, if you've been to those, the King and Queen are up there, and if you're important enough to be presented, you go up and you bow and curtsy. So nobody's got the balls to tell them, King and Duke and Duchess of Windsor, you're going to bow in front of these bozos.
Yeah, you do.
But they did. They got it. It's like, this is fun, man. We can do this. We can make believe for a few minutes and just be who we are. And it made a double-page spread in Life magazine of them bowing, and it's just a special Mardi Gras moment. They got it.
Well, because of my family, and what a lot of people don't realize about Mardi Gras is it's not that like you have to have money, it doesn't work, or you have to know someone. It really doesn't matter. It has to just do with who your parents and grandparents. I mean, that's it, right? Yeah. And I don't think I can tell that one. Well, sure. So a close family. Okay. So I know you know this, Arthur, but a lot of people don't know this. So I was involved in the family stuff, the behind the scenes, like Mardi Gras stuff, like old world. And most people don't realize, let's take a maid. It's really just a debutante ball. It's a way for families to introduce their daughters to upstanding young men.
Yeah.
And so you're paired with someone. Like as a Duke, you're paired with like kind of the same maid, and you have all these different parties. People don't realize she's got to buy 12 dresses at thousands of dollars each. So it's this huge commitment. So I was paired with this, I won't say who she was, super cool family, you know them well, and So I was doing what you're talking about, where you go up to the king and the queen.
Yeah.
And you're doing in a procession,
Yeah.
usually a line of people. And I walk up there and I trip right on and spill a drink. Like,
No. Oh,
she's
man.
on the throne. And I'm horrified, obviously.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, and at least I didn't fall on my face, but, you know. I know, right?
You're marked for life, huh?
Oh, my gosh.
But, you know, we take our fun seriously here. And
I like that. We
and-
take
and-
our fun.
Yeah, and what's the harm in that? I mean, you know, who cares?
They didn't. It was fine with them. I
Yeah.
was the one that was horrified.
This is what we do. And,
Yeah.
you know, a couple of years ago, there were some people from New York who came down here and criticized Zulu for blackface
Right.
and wanted them to change that.
I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Yeah, and basically said, you guys are a disgrace, and you're being duped into degrading your own race. And the Zulu people basically said, bullshit. We're not stupid. We know what we're doing. This is our thing.
Yeah.
If you don't get it, that's your problem.
It's fine.
We're not changing because you think we're doing something wrong.
Right, right.
We're in control. This is us. And, you know, and I loved it because this. I keep saying it, but this is who we are. This is what we do. And
And this is a private
don't
organization,
care.
and one that's integrated. Like
Yeah,
we're an
yeah.
integrated private organization. You're going to come down here and tell me. Not only that,
Yeah.
everyone, black, white,
And-
everyone does blackface.
And how
right?
cool is that? That
Oh,
the
it's
white
great.
people you can bribe, but you got to look black. You know,
Yeah.
it's the ultimate, almost like satire on top of something else. And there've been some national TV people who wanted to ride in Zulu, but wouldn't do it because blackface would not play to it. They didn't get it. This is
Okay.
fun, man.
Don't get it.
We're
It's
having
fine.
fun.
You go do your thing over
Yeah,
there.
let
and
us alone and hit the road.
Bourbon Street's wide open. You
Yeah.
can go down there
Yeah,
anytime you
yeah,
want.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Anything else you want to cover? Or you want to come back for episode B, part B?
I think we've covered a lot of territory, man.
Yeah, we
Really
covered
have.
about
Yeah.
20% of what all the questions that I would have for you in a lifetime. But
No, this was fun, and I appreciate the opportunity, and very different than any interview I've ever done. You know,
you're saying the interviewer is different, or just
both the interviewer and the interview. And hopefully, the interviewee did a good job.
well, of course. Hey, let's just hope if people like what I'm doing here and they like the guest, then there'll be a season 2. It's as simple as
I
that.
hope so. I wish you well with this. It's a unique concept because people, more important than me, don't really get the opportunity for long-ended, you know, again, it's 30-second sound bites, and it's what
Or you're on a
sells.
panel of 6 people
Yeah,
or 4 or
and
whatever.
it's just, you see the highlight reel, which is this long, and you don't get the really in-depth, what's this person really about?
Yeah.
And bullshitting, you know?
Well, I feel like we've just scratched the surface of what you're
Well,
about.
We can do it again.
But I most appreciate you being here.
My
And
pleasure, pal.
Most definitely.
Thank you.
You're a rock star. Oh, come on. You know it. But you don't act like it.
Well, thank you.
That'll be our little secret.
That's a compliment.
Thanks, Arthur Hardy.
Thank you, buddy.